Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yay. It's time for the experiment. Everybody is welcome to share your face or not. Within about 5 or 10 minutes of getting going, this is going to be very much your own work for you to tune in with you. We're going to start with a little bit of teaching. Then you're going to run an experiment. Then I'll teach. Then I'll run an experiment. Here we go. Let me explain what I'm talking about when I say run an experiment. So the thing that I call the experiment, the thing you showed up for today, is all about feeling your feelings. And I want to do a little definition about feelings versus emotions. I asked the Google machine said emotions are the experiences, the emotional experiences. Feeling is a word that we use. When we call it a feeling, it's when we're describing the emotional experience. So we're talking about technically having your emotions and fully experiencing your emotions. But in my head, it is way more fun to say feeling your feelings. So that's why I say we're here to feel your feelings. We're not here to talk about your feelings or give a name to your feelings, or like your feelings, or dislike your feelings, or find where they are in your body. We're just here to feel your feelings. If that's not weird enough, every single thing we're going to do today is weird. The experiment is weird. That's one of the things I love the most about it. I'm going to tell you a couple weird things about the experiment. Number one, you cannot do it wrong. There is no way to do it wrong. This is why I say that. You can't do it wrong. One is we were born unable to talk with no concepts in our heads. All we had was feelings. So we were born for this. You were totally born for it. So you can't do it wrong. Two is there is no homework. There are no assignments. Like you just can't do it wrong. That's not the nature of the next hour. So you can't. You just can't. It is impossible to do it wrong. Another reason this is really weird, and I already talked about this a little bit, at least I'll speak for myself and a lot of people. Well, I'm just going to speak for myself, but I've seen this in other people as well. We think the highest form of being an emotionally intelligent person is to be able to talk about and name and discuss our feelings. The experiment was inspired by David Hawkins' process called the letting go technique. And he says a bunch of crazy, funny shit in his book. And everything I'm going to talk about today is in the first 2 chapters. You can see where my Post-it notes run out. I read the whole book, but the real meat and potatoes is in the first two chapters and the introduction and the preface. Funny, funny shit in this book. I think it's very funny. It wasn't written to be funny, but I find it hilarious. So he says, one really hilarious thing he says is our feelings, what we tend to do is we either repress or suppress them. We shove them down. That's a common thing we do with them. We all probably know that's not the best thing. It's not really good for our health. It's not really good for our mental health. The other thing we do is we escape from them, right? Another thing, you may or may not recognize yourself in that statement. I certainly do. Also not great. The thing I think is hilarious and weird is he says the other thing we do with our feelings is we express them. We talk about them. He says they're not meant to be talked about. They're meant to be felt. They're meant to be felt fully. So the experiment is weird. This is weird. We're just feeling our feelings. We're not talking about them. We're not naming them. We're not saying that is sadness. That is anxiety. You might do it, but that's not the point. The point is to feel them. The way we do this in this hour is weird. Pretty soon, I'm going to stop talking, and I'm actually going to invite you to turn the volume on me off. I'm not doing this right now, but I will soon. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and feel your feelings for a certain amount of time. And my greatest hope is that that is so compelling or interesting or feels so good that you don't want to come back. And that's why I'm going to tell you to turn the volume down on me. Because hopefully you just sit then for the rest of the time and feel your feelings, because you just can't even stop. It's just such a cool experience. If that is not your experience, if you're like, this is torturous or this is awful or I'm just curious, I will come back and I'll tell you how many minutes there will be each time before I come back. Because we're going to do that, I would like you to pull out something that will have an alarm on it, probably your phone, and set the time for 10 minutes to the hour. Because at 10 minutes to the next hour, we'll do some closing work, and I will send you out with some invitations for things to do over the next week. So please set your timer for 10 minutes to the next hour so that if the experiment is so utterly compelling, you do come back at that time. Okay, I want to share one more thing before I invite you for the first time to shut the volume down on me. So I want to get clear. David Hawkins, again in this book, created this technique called the letting go technique. A lot of people who've started participating in the experiment have gone and read the book, which I think it's a really cool, interesting book. And like I already said, it's a pretty damn funny book in my mind. He says some very bold statements in this book. What he talks about inspired what I'm going to teach you today, but what I'm teaching you today is not exactly what he said. And I want to give you kind of the lowdown on the difference. So David Hawkins says, you will notice that you're having a feeling. I'm having a feeling. Okay. Sarah Stern, the experiment says, you will notice you're having a feeling. David Hawkins says, your only task isn't even the right word. The only to do is to feel the feeling and feel it fully. And that's what the experiment says too. Feel the feeling and feel it fully. David Hawkins says, when you're feeling the feeling, ignore your thoughts. Don't, just push the thoughts to the side. What the experiment says is, to me, it's a distraction and a wrestling match to ignore your thoughts. Go ahead and let your thoughts float around and do whatever they want to do. Your only task is to feel the feeling that comes with the thought. Feel the feeling that comes with the thought. David Hawkins then says, after you have fully felt the feeling, your next task is to let it go. And that's the inspiration, I assume, for the title of the book, Letting Go. What the experiment says is, you actually don't have to let it go. In some ways, that feeling will let you go. But what my real experience and what I'm really saying is this. I think when we feel a feeling, and I want to focus on this. This might be a positive feeling or a negative. It's not necessarily somebody was mean to me when I was 7, or my mom was a shithead, or anything like that. It might be, my dog is adorable. The sky is beautiful. The sunset is overwhelmingly gorgeous, right? Might be positive, might be negative. In my experience, when those feelings upwell in us, it's almost like a shoulder that's out of joint. And when you feel it completely, it integrates back into you and you don't notice it anymore. So there truly is no need to let it go. You're simply letting it get back in alignment with you. So there's nothing to do here but feel your feelings. The final thing David Hawkins says in this process is you might not even notice that it's working. You might not even feel like it's working. It won't be till somebody else points it out to you, like, you seem awfully calm lately, or you laugh a lot, or usually you would have freaked out about that thing, or gosh, you're really keeping a cool head. Your life will change around you. You might not be the one who notices. You might be the one who notices it. He says you probably won't be. Other people will notice it. And he says, keep track of that evidence. And the experiment says the same thing. And that's what inspired me to call it the experiment. We're running experiments and keeping track of data. That's all we're doing. I also call it the experiment because that's a heck of a lot more playful than a lot of the language he uses in this book. And I'm just a more playful person. I don't know. Maybe David Hawkins was a super playful person. I never met him. But anyway, so that is the difference between the letting go technique and the experiment. With that, we're going to get ready to do our first experiment. And that's how this is going to go. We're going to do between 3 and 5 experiments before the end of this hour. So here's my first invitation to you. We're going to, in just a minute or two, you're going to turn the volume down on me. And here's my invitation. My invitation is to go through your senses. So ask yourself, what am I tasting? And simply tune into what you're tasting. You don't have to put a word to it, but you probably will. Go ahead and put a word to it. But the point is, taste what you're tasting. You may taste something and then taste another thing. And you might taste through a couple of things. That is normal. That's how this goes. Then you're going to say, what am I hearing? And then you're just going to listen. You're going to hear what you're hearing. And you're going to go through the order of your senses in whatever order feels right to you. There is no pressure on this. Then you'll go, what am I touching? What am I smelling? And then the last thing is, what am I feeling? And that'll be your internal, what are you feeling? Here's what is very likely. You're going to say, well, wait, what have I tasted yet? Or am I supposed to do this? Or am I supposed to that? If you get distracted by that, like, am I doing it right? Go ahead and feel the feelings that come with being distracted. I don't mean confused or not sure about what the next thing is. The direction is go through your senses. The guarantee is your brain is going to take you in some direction, and that's okay. The point is to follow that and feel the feelings that come with it. I know for some of you that direction was somewhat confusing. And if you're hung up on how confusing that was, you can just start this exercise by going, damn, Sarah gives confusing directions, and then feel the feelings that come with that if you want, because that is all our task is for the next however many minutes until we're done. I'm going to set a timer here. We're going to go through your senses. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to go through your senses. Taste, touch, smell, hear, etc. And just see what shows up. If you get off of your senses, just go into the feelings of whatever shows up next. And I'm going to get my timer set. And now is my first invitation to turn the volume down on me, because if that is so groovy that you don't want to come back, that is my dream scenario. If not, I'll start talking again in 3 minutes, starting now. Okay, that was 3 minutes. For those of you who are back, because either that was so torturous that you just couldn't wait for the 3 minutes to be up, or because you're so curious, or for whatever other reason you're back, not required, but very much invited. If you have observations or experiences you'd like to share from those 3 minutes, or questions. And I'll just wait for a moment to see if people have observations or questions. Okay. We're going to do the next invitation here. So that was the warm up, if you will. Here's your next invitation to try an experiment, to run an experiment. The good news is this, well, at least I think it's good news, is I'm going to make an invitation to you to run an experiment. If that experiment does not work, the good news is you absolutely have an experiment you can run, because your only work during this time will be to feel whatever feelings are there. So I'm going to make an invitation. You can follow that invitation. You can run that experiment, or whatever else happens to show up is the experiment that you get to run. And that's how this always works. You run the experiment that is available to you. So here's my next teaching and then experiment. The way I think about this, or one way that I like to talk about this, is any feeling you've had in your life that you didn't feel completely becomes like a person who's waiting in line for the bathroom at a concert, and there's a long line and they really need to go. And so those feelings that throughout your life were not felt fully are waiting in line, they need to go. There are other practices that would say to that feeling or that thought, I'm ignoring you now. I'm ignoring you. That is how I am experiencing my, mental health or my enlightenment or whatever you're feeling when you're letting those thoughts just run by. I like to say, no, let those thoughts and the feelings that come with them come in and go to the bathroom. If you don't let them come in and go to the bathroom, they're going to go pee on someone. They're going to pee on your colleague or your kid or your dog or the person who cut you off in traffic or the slow person at the grocery store. So the whole point is let them come in. And here's what I experience as the ultimate beauty of this. And David Hawkins talks about this as well. Whatever feeling is right there first in line at the bathroom is the perfect one to start with. So again, I'm going to make an invitation of an experiment that you could run. But if that experiment doesn't feel fruitful, go with whatever shows up. And whatever shows up might be, like I said earlier, oh, Sarah gave shitty directions, or I don't know what I'm doing, or this chair is uncomfortable, or I didn't put enough cream in my coffee, or whatever happens to be there. Feel that feeling. And again, I am going to give you an experiment, a suggestion that you can try that might be really fruitful. And it might take you down the road that is so compelling and so interesting that you don't come back until 10 minutes to the hour, and it might not. So here is my next invitation to you. My next invitation is this. Think about something that is irritating to you. And what I mean by that is go petty. Something that is a pet peeve or annoying. I don't mean something giant like a great trauma in your life. I don't mean that. I don't mean that giant breakup when you were in 7th grade or 7 weeks ago. I mean something petty, an irritation, a bothering thing, a certain way people drive, or the way people behave on Zoom or whatever. Think of that, something petty. You'll have the thoughts about it, and then feel the feelings that come with the thoughts. There's thoughts, and around the thoughts are feelings. They're things that are hard to put words on. They're things that are not made up of words. They're made up of feelings. So go petty. I'm not going to make you report out what you were petty about, so really go for it. Think about some petty stuff. Feel the feeling around it. And when you feel a feeling fully, for me, it's usually like somewhere between, I don't know, I don't keep track, 10 and 90 seconds. So it's not even going to be 5 minutes of feeling it, my guess. You're going to feel the feeling. And then whatever shows up next, feel what shows up next. And then feel what shows up next and what shows up next. We're going to do this for 2 minutes. This one will be 2 minutes. So invitation now, turn the volume off on me, go petty, and feel the feelings around the petty stuff. Okay, that was 2 minutes. For those of you who are back, who has questions or observations they want to share? Not required again, but invitation is open. Here comes someone. Hi. Next little piece here. I think of this as advanced, and I'm going to go for it anyway. There are feelings, at least in my brain, feelings are often associated with being in your body. You might have a thing that happens like, oh, I got a twinge in my shoulder or a feeling in my gut or my chest is tight. And that's the thing that makes me notice it. I want you to even expand out where the feelings come from. Like we started with your senses. Apologies for this one. When you have BO, it's not only on you, right? It permeates out beyond you. Your feelings come from out beyond you as well. So you're going to feel things that will be in your body, but they're also just like, you're going to feel a room. You're going to feel a sense. You might be able to feel the feeling of a person or a pet or a plant or a bird. I don't know. Feelings come from beyond the limit or the edge of your body. They also come from deep inside your body, right? It's not just your fingers. So here's my next invitation to you. And you get to pick. There's 3 invitations. First invitation is feel the stuff that's out beyond your skin. If that one is just way too trippy or bizarro or not interesting and nothing's happening, feel the space between your skin. Now pick a part of your body, your foot, your hand, your head, the space of you that's between the skin. So that's option B. Option C is if all of that is cuckoo bananas, feel whatever's showing up because that's all the experiment ever is. is to feel the next feeling that is there. And my invitations are invitations. And if they're not fruitful, something else is there. It'll either be, I feel like I'm doing this wrong, or Sarah's explaining this like shit, or my chair is uncomfortable, or my back feels yucky, or whatever happens to be there. That's invitation C. We're going to do a long one here, the longest, I guess. We're going to do 4.5 minutes. And I am doing this with you. I'm experimenting with you during these sessions. So here's your next invitation to turn the volume on me down and feel what you're feeling. Okay. That was however much time I said it would be. Who has questions or observations they would like to share? I love that, because then you have a chance, those of you who thought it was shitty, to say, okay, I'm going to feel the shitty part of it. Amanda, same thing. Others might have felt like, oh gosh, I'm so glad she was late and it wasn't me. Good. That's an invitation for you to get to feel that feeling of, oh, again, I'm going on hunches here. I'm also very aware that I'm like, oh, that BO thing was good. I'm going to teach that again. Okay. I'm trying not desperately, that's just for dramatic sake. It's such a funny thing to use words to talk about something that has nothing to do with words here, because that's what we're talking about. It's the stuff way beyond words. That's what we're getting to, is the stuff that's way beyond words, right? Way beyond. Gabby, I saw you share your face. Did you do that for fun, or were you wanting to share something?
Fun.
I like it. Okay, well, it's fun for me. So awesome. That's so awesome. Yeah, this is stuff. And I actually want to catch what I said, way beyond words. I actually think it's way pre-words. It's instinct stuff. It's intuition stuff. It's that stuff we've always had. That's what we're tuning into. The stuff we had before we had thoughts. The stuff we had before we had words to put onto it. It's that instinct, that, well, instinct is the word I'm going to stick with. We're coming up, we have 10 more minutes before everybody's alarm goes off. I want to talk about times, because we're talking about this, right? You show up accidentally late or unplanned late, or your neighbor goes and moves your sign, right? You didn't plan for these things. You didn't see them coming. You're going to have feelings that show up with them. Hopefully in your life, it's usually like small to medium level stuff. That being said, there will be big shit that shows up in your life. And David Hawkins talks about how those three things that I talked about earlier, the suppressing or repressing, or the escaping from, or even the expressing our feelings, those can be very helpful when a very big thing shows up in our life. Out of nowhere, didn't see it coming, loss of a job, loss of a loved one, accident, giant financial bill, right? Something that's very big. Those three things, again, of suppressing or repressing it, or escaping from it, or talking about it, expressing it, can be helpful things to kind of take some of the oomph out of that big feeling so that we can actually bite it off one bite at a time. So I'm sharing that with you to say, there also might be things from your past that are what you would consider very big things that you've either suppressed or repressed, or you've talked about a lot, or you've escaped from. And a way to go back and start managing or experiencing those things, it might not be great to be like, I'm going to go back and deal with my horrible upbringing. Like, I don't know that David Hawkins would recommend it. I don't recommend that this afternoon you just cancel your day and like, I'm going to feel my whole bad upbringing. That being said, you also might say, I'm going to feel this one part of it, and this one part of it, and this one part of it. Just pick something like a bite-sized piece that you can bite off. The example David Hawkins gives is a person who loses their job. And they can't handle the whole brunt force of it, but they can handle feeling the feelings of, I'm not going to get to have lunch with those colleagues I liked anymore. I'm not going to, I'm trying to remember that's one of them, right? I'm going to miss having lunch with those people. That's a way that you can walk your way bite by bite into very large things that have happened in your past, or that might show up today or show up in your future. You have been doing something to deal with those ones in the past. You've probably been suppressing it or repressing it. You've probably been expressing it or escaping from it. And that's why when things that we called petty earlier show up in such a big way, because we've got a big long line at the bathroom that is trying to be felt. Hopefully that's helpful. That is not going to be my invitation right now, though. I'm not going to have you pick Sister Mary Catherine, who beat you in the first grade or anything like that. Don't even know why I brought that up. Geez. But anyway, that's not my invitation. You can if you want. My invitation here, this will be either our last one or our second to last one. It'll be 3 minutes long. No, it's going to be 5 minutes long. I'd like you to think about something that has happened during this call in the last 44 and a half minutes that was either a big plus, positive, maybe an insight that you had, or something that somebody said gave you goosebumps or made you giggle, or a low, like, oh, we're 45 minutes in and I still don't get this, whatever that is. Oh my gosh, I just said the actual name of somebody's actual nun in grade school. I hope she didn't beat you. Hope she was delightful. Yes. Hopefully she beat you with soft pillows and happy stories in the most delightful ways. So, okay, here's the invitation. What in the hell was I saying now? I just love that I just channeled somebody's actual first grade teacher, elementary school teacher. So I don't even know what I was saying. Anybody else know? Because it was damn good. It was such good shit. Oh, something great. A high point in the last 45 minutes. A feeling you had, something positive, a high point in the last 45 minutes, or a negative. I want you to just use that as your access point. Feel that moment. And then follow, I'm going to steal, Mark, your language. Follow your ADHD brain and your ADHD feelings around for the next 5 minutes. Go ahead and turn the volume down. We'll come back in 5. Mm. That was 5 minutes. And your timers probably just went off. Anybody want to share an observation or a question? Thank you for that. That is what the experiment is. It's feeling whatever shows up. Small, big, petty, important, positive, negative, all of the above. Does anybody else have something they want to share before I take us into concluding for today? Thank you. Oh, somebody's feeling incredibly and surprisingly relaxed. How cool. Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that. Also, any of you who are feeling the opposite, like more tense and freaked out than ever, that's awesome too. You don't do this because now I'm going to feel peace. Although I do find that is a side effect for me often. And I think for many people. But the goal isn't, I'm going to go feel incredibly and surprisingly relaxed. If that's the goal, you're just going to struggle the whole time with the feeling of, I don't feel surprisingly relaxed. Good. Deal with that, right? Feel the feeling of, I'm not feeling that. And I'm thrilled beyond, like, I'm going to have to take a moment after this is done and feel that comment right there, which is really exciting. When you felt the petty stuff, bigger feelings emerged. I like to use petty stuff when I've started doing this some weeks ago. I don't know how many, maybe 2 months ago now. And there'll be hours of a day when I'm not feeling any feelings. And I'm like, oh no, it broke. What happened? I call that experimentation constipation, when it's like nothing's available. And the way I solve experimentation constipation is to think about petty shit, because petty shit is an amazing form of feeling Metamucil. It just gets things going for me. So again, not the most elegant metaphors, but you all knew what I meant. So yeah. Thank you. Oh, okay. I get to feel the feelings on that one too in a few minutes. Okay. Here's how I would like to conclude today. With the experiment, there is no practice. What I mean by that is there's just running experiments. And I do invite you to run experiments. Run them. The next meeting you're late for, the next hug you get from somebody you love, the next annoying thing a neighbor does, the next amazing first sip of coffee in the morning. Feel it. Feel it. That's all it is. There's only experimenting. Know that the experiment will tell you the next thing to experiment on, because it's the next feeling that showed up. It's the next weird thing someone said, or the next terrible thing you thought. Here we were doing the experiment in a somewhat artificial lab. You know, totally, we were doing it in a lab environment, right? Like, now we will do this, right? When they do psychological experiments in labs, it's like, well, is that really true out in the real world, or is it only true in the lab? The real life outside of here is where the real experiment begins. So you're really beginning the experiment now, because you're going to go out into your day and into your life and run experiments. If that just feels like too much, or if it doesn't feel like it's working, a first step into the experiment is just noticing when life gives you an invitation to run an experiment. And again, that might come in the form of a neighbor doing something, or a great cup of coffee, or a compliment. Just notice, oh, that was an invitation to do an experiment. There was another one. There was another one. Just start by noticing, oh, I have goosebumps. That's an invitation. Oh, I have a headache. That's an invitation. Oh, my back hurts. I'm feeling something. If it can just start with, there was an invitation, there was an invitation, there was an invitation. This is positive and negative things. You will notice a couple of things, I predict. As you do experiments, you're going to either get feedback from other people or you're going to experience some things that are easier or they're less explosive or you behave in a different way. Or someone will say to you, do you lose 5 pounds? No. Yeah, you just lost 5 pounds of feelings, right? Keep track of it. Keep track of it. If you're a journaler, write it down in a journal. If you keep notes on your phone, keep notes on your phone. I have started a private Marco Polo group. I would love to have you come there. It is free. There are people in there. We just go in there and we share on Marco Polo our evidence. Here's what I saw. Here's what I noticed. I put my email in here in the chat. If you email me your phone number, I don't know how to invite you without sending it to a text machine. I'll send you an invitation to the Marco Polo group. Do that in the Marco Polo group or do it on your own. The other thing you might notice is as you're feeling your feelings, as you're running experiments, you get insights. Write those down. That's a great, like, oh, I got an idea. Oh, I realized this thing about my whatever. I should really call so-and-so. Act on that stuff. That's a fun thing to add to the experiment. Insights will come. Ideas will come. Act on it. See what happens. Mark, call that cousin in California. See what happens, right? There's a reason these things kind of show up. See what you can find out about it. There's actually 2 Marco Polo groups. So if you're interested, one is where people share evidence. The other one is I just make invitations on the group. I add little tips or tidbits or invitations. If you want that sprinkled in your day, let me know. I'm also very seriously considering hosting something I'm calling the Experiment Live, which will be like a Friday to Sunday event where we'll just play around with the experiment in a group all weekend. If you have any interest in that, I would just love to know. I'm also considering hosting something called the Experiment Drug-Free Microdose, which is like a 4-hour version of what we're doing today. If you're interested in that, let me know. It'll be fun to see how my email responds to the word microdose in there. I don't know. See how AI wants to do with that. And then the last thing is, if you think this is valuable or if you think somebody else would think it was valuable, forward the calendar invite. I think that'll pop on their calendar. I'm getting a huge kick out of doing this. It's like my favorite hour of the week. And it's extra fun when there's more people here. So please share with others. And please come back if it's valuable. Thanks for hanging out with me. Boom, exactly at the time. Have a great week.